Hey everyone, it's Mike from DriveAD.com, and today we're going to make After Effects non-scary. And by doing so, we're going to learn about the pen tool. This is a very awesome tool. I use it all the time, and it gives you a lot of options and free reign to create some cool stuff. What we're going to do to start is create a new composition, Command N. You can just you just hit pause, copy all of these settings, and we're going to hit OK. Now, we're going to get the pen tool. You think that the pen tool would be P, but in this case, we're going to hit G because that's what gets the pen tool for whatever reason. Now, if I want to see what other pens they have, I hold this down. You can see all of these different cool things that the pen tool could be. And we're going to go over the basics. So we're going to hit G, which we already have, and I'm going to start drawing. Now, if you have the pen tool and you want to move around in your composition, if you hold down Command, you'll get the Select tool, and if you let go of it, you'll have the Pen tool. Meaning, if I if let's say I'm doing a point here, a point here, a point here, and a point, and I'm like, okay, well, I want to now it's gonna be a direct select tool. I'm like, I want to get these points here, or I want to get this point here, or this point here to move it around just a little bit, or get this guy, move it around here. Or if you just hit V, it'll just go directly to select these points. That's helpful in just so many ways, as you could probably just start imagining. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So let's just start off. So again, if you are or you are drawing, you can hit hold down Command, and you'll be able to get this tool, and you'll be able to kind of draw over the points that you want to have, where you can move them on your own. But yeah, so let's kind of start over again with this by hitting V to get the actual select tool. Let's click off and let's delete it. Okay, now we didn't fully delete it because it has this point, so let's delete it again. Okay, so we're going to get back to this tool. Now, the pen tool is funny because you think that if you're drawing with a pen, you can just hold it down and draw, but if you do that, and if I click and I hold, it's not drawing, it's creating these handles, and you're like, what? I don't get it. And then if I go to do it again, it draws a line and has other handles, and that's because this is like the Bezier or Bezier or whatever. I say the Bezier. I know that people might argue that, but they're wrong. No, they're probably right. I don't care. But that's the confusing part, and the hardest part of the pen tool is that people get stuck at this point. But what I want to do is get you used to that, and by doing so, I'm going to hit the select tool, and I'm going to hit Command A, and I'm going to delete it. So the let's kind of go back a little bit, and let's just kind of create some points. So let's say that I want to create a square. I would create the top and just click there, and I'd click here, and I'd click here, and click here. And you see that it's drawing, and it's actually filling in the spaces in between points. Now, it's not finished because I haven't gone back to the end point yet. And by doing so, if I hover over the end point, you'll see this little circle appears next to the pen, and that just means that you've completed your path. And in this case, that's just very helpful because you've got, okay, cool, now I have a square, and if I hit V and select it, now I can move it around, and I've got a kind of okay looking square. But yeah, so that's what you can do with it. So you can have different points, and let's say there was something you can trace, you can utilize the pen tool to trace it. But let's delete this, and let's say that, okay, well, maybe I want to give a little bit more rounded edges. So let's get the not V, G again. So if I click here, I have a point. Now, if I go here, I can have a straight point, or if I undo that and I hold here and I hold it down, now I can control this path and say, all right, well, from here to here, it's going to create this curve. Now, the thing is that what it's doing is it's showing kind of the path of the curve. So my next point, if I put it here, it'll follow this line to create that curve. And if I just click, it'll create it for me. And if I click again, you got this weird, now I got this straight line. So hopefully you're understanding what the power of this thing so far. So let me delete this. So again, you can start here and to click a point. I can click and drag, and I can just click again. But what if I clicked and dragged again? I can control where that part of the curve goes. And you can even kind of come in a little bit and be a little different. But if I click here, it's going to draw this weird circle, but we can fix that. So if I click the endpoint and I hold it down, and now I start drawing, now we've got the whole thing has got these curved parts. So okay, great, but I want to maybe bring this curve in a little bit here, or I don't want this off the stage. So if I hit H, I can get the hand and I can move this up. And if I hover over it without pressing anything, you'll get the select tool, and I can now click this handle here and I can move it. The problem with that is it's going to keep this whole line as as like a set piece, and it's going to be moving around like that. If I wanted to just take this handle, which was here, if I just wanted to move just from this point to here, I'd hold down Option and get this little like anchor, this like how do I name this again? It's the Convert Vertex tool. Sometimes I just don't know the actual names of things, but I've been using this forever, so I just kind of say that tool. So you get that Convert Vertex tool, and if I hold down Option and I click on it, I can now, it'll break that line there, and I've got more control over where I want this to go. Now, if I want, and you can have like more of a 90-degree angle, if I want to mess with this curve a little bit, add that curve back, I would hold Option again, and I'd click it, and I would then drag it, and you can now, it gives it that smooth curve here, which depending on what you're doing is either beneficial or it's not beneficial. Or if I just want to make this a straight line, if I hit Option and just click, it will now, make a point, and if I did it again here and again here, now it's going to take away all of those rounded corners and do that. So that's kind of like the beginning of that. So let's Command A, let's delete that. Okay. Let's say that, again, I do a square, so I go here to here. What if I wanted this to go straight across and be, straight and not go down a little bit here? So if I undo this, and if I hold Shift, it will do a straight line straight across. And if I go here, you'll see that if I went down and I clicked over, it will go over to the left here. But if I want it to be straight, exactly straight below it in the same coordinates of its Y, then I hold down Shift and it'll make a line straight down. Even if I was off a little bit, it would still make it directly straight down in its y-axis. And then here I would do it again. Now, the only issue is that if you're going to end the point, that point is going to win wherever it is. So let's say that if I hold down Command, let me get this point by hovering over it and then dragging it over. So even if I hold Shift here, it's not going to matter. But if I hold Shift out here, it's going to make that straight line, but it's not going to connect it at the end if that was my goal. So that's where, it kind of gets a little bit, in that case, you can kind of zoom in a little bit and say, all right, let me actually change the color of this so you can follow a little bit easier. There we go. I probably should have done that in the beginning. Apologize. But at this point, if I'm messing with this corner here, I just drag it around, you'll see there's a bit of this kind of like, you see it kind of makes like little steps. It's like not a straight line. So you can kind of eyeball it and say, like, all right, well, if I just drag this and I hold Shift or whatever it's going to be, yeah, I hold Shift and go over, you can kind of see where the line's straight. And so at this point, this looks like it's straight, and this looks like it's, it's not exactly a square, but it's rectangular. If you want to make it 100%, just grab the rectangle tool or the shape tool and then draw a square. But in this sense, yeah, you can do that. So there's that option if you hold down Shift. Let's delete this. Actually, no, let's keep it on here. And let's say I wanted to add points to this. If I hold G again, I can add anchor points. The anchor points are these little square dots that are all around here. That just means that, in this sense, I can only grab here and here and here and here and here. But if I want to add one in the middle, I can select it, and you see the plus tool, and it'll add it. And that means that now there's a new breakpoint of where this can be. So I'm going to animate this. I can make all these cool things just utilizing that path point. If I want to get rid of it, which I should be able to do, let me go back, G, and this feather tool, blah, 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 delete my vortex. I want to get rid of it, so I'm going to use this minus sign. I'm going to get rid of it because now that point is gone and I can't, it's all one piece again. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, I'm not going to lie, the mask feather tool, I've just never used it. I've never had a need for it, and I'm not going to pretend to teach you it because I don't use it. I don't know it. And I'm not, I'm sure in tutorials they should teach you all these things, but that's probably some other tutorial out there, and maybe I'll do a little research after this, but I've never used it. I'm sure it's probably powerful. I'm going to kick myself in the head for many years not using it, but I just don't know. So we're going to move past that. But yeah, so that is the pen tool. Again, you can do straight lines. Let's delete this. You could do, G to get it. You can do straight lines. You can do curved lines. You can do here and you do here. You can kind of make it as however cool you want it to be. And once you start animating this, that's where the fun really starts. So we're going to kind of get slightly advanced in this. I'm going to zoom in, and you'd animate it by just messing with the shape. The path is really it. So the path, if the path looks like this here, and at this point I want the path to change to be something different, I can go up here and select a point. Now if I just use the black selection tool, like the black arrow, it's going to say that, well, it's going to select all these points. But if I hold down command and just draw over it, now I can mess with this point. So I'd say this point I want to go here, this point's here, this point's like there, this one's here. So at this point the shape is now going to change. So if I click here and if I go, After Effects is going to draw that for me, and you can see that it's morphing. So your brain hopefully is going, oh my god, I could do this, that, and the other thing with it. And if I just render preview it, you're going to see that's where it's going to shape morph. So this opens up the door for so many things you can do, and you can get very, very detailed with this, and it's a lot of fun. You can just change it around, and maybe at this point you can change it to be something completely different. So at this point, maybe I want all of these points down at this point to get sharp. There we go. They're all sharp at this point. There we go. And this guy here. All right. So from this point to here, it's now going to get itself together and sharpen up. So you can see that's it. And if you want to speed it up, if you grab all these and hold down Option and get the furthest point and then drag it left, you can make this a little faster. Hit N to close this off, and then you'll see that it's doing some weird stuff. Or if I want to give it some breathing room, I can just select over here and bring that out a little bit. Sometimes, for these positions to go from here to here, it needs a bit more room to show you to draw it. So let's see what that would look like. But yeah, so there you go. So this is where you start getting a little bit more, you can have a lot more control over your animations. Hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, keep that on the comp. If you have any questions, you can just reply in the comments, or you can just email me personally at mike@drive80.com. There we go. Yeah, so you can just ask me any questions you want. You can get personalized attention. You can hire me for personalized instruction. For a different hour, an hour here or there. If that's what you want. You can also, if you have a company and you don't feel like creating all this animation stuff, you could just hire my company and we can do it for you. There's all these fun things you can do, but if it's a simple question, just email me. I have no problem helping you out. And pass this along to anybody who you think could get some usefulness out of it. And that's it.